What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit more about this Ravens game before we move on to Chicago week. We're really going to dive into that tomorrow as the first injury report will drop, and we'll start to dive into what the Bears do and their injuries and everything like that. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this Ravens game because we got something from Dan Campbell today. He told us that he was going to be calling the NFL league office, and he gave us some insight why he would do that. I think we all know why he's going to do that, but I'm going to tell you what he said. And also, I think it ties in really well with what we talked about on Last Second Dose last night. So if you weren't there, I get it was a late show, but we're going to start clipping segments from that and posting it because I think there's a lot of good there. I may come back, edit some new pieces in, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in that show. So just so you know. But anyways, let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
We do have some more breaking news for the Detroit Lions, and I thought I would just put it in this video to share it with you guys. I guess this is kind of turning into a Lions latest episode. That's fine. You know, we can rock with that. The Detroit Lions have officially released inside linebacker Jamie Collins. So the news has become official. They did not make a trade for Jamie Collins. They have now released him off the team. This is very unfortunate news. I was really hoping we would be able to get something in return, man. We talked about it. I would have took a 7th round pick and been happy, but the Lions unfortunately were unable to find a trade, which is a little bit surprising based on what Dan Campbell's remarks were when this first kind of came out that the Lions were going to hold him out. They were looking for a trade for Jamie Collins, and he said we have some suitors. He expected a trade to be done, but it never happened. And there were some rumors kind of starting to fly out there that other teams maybe just waiting for him to get released. That way they didn't have to give up anything. I would assume that no one offered the Lions anything for Jamie Collins, because if you would have got anything, I mean a 7th round pick for 2023, you're probably taking that because it saves you some more money because they're taking on that contract. Plus, you're getting something in return, anything in return. I was really hoping we'd be able to land some cornerback for Jamie Collins, whatever that may have been, even if we had a package of pick with it. That's what I was really hoping for. For restructure this year, Collins' contract was arguably a little bit more friendly because it is less base salary that teams do have to take on. But now that he's been released and he is free to sign anywhere because he's a vet, he can go sign right away with anybody. So I'm sure he'll get a much cheaper deal wherever he does end up landing after him being released. I don't think it'll take that long either, but it'll probably be a much cheaper deal. So the other teams around the league will save a lot from this. It means we're taking on a little bit more dead cap because there was no trade here. So the Detroit Lions are going to technically lose some money for this season, especially after the restructuring of the contract that we made of Jamie Collins earlier this offseason. The expectation was he was going to be here this year after that restructuring, but it did initially save the Lions some money for this year because they had some cap issues. Now, this was kind of just a matter of time, it seemed like, with Jamie Collins, as it, for one, just wasn't a perfect fit schematically. It just wasn't a great fit. This is not the type of player that the Lions would have ever signed regime because he just does not fit at all in terms of schematically. Linebacker core that the Lions are building here and what works for this scheme better is more speed at that linebacker position, the interior linebackers, guys that fly downhill, faster sideline to sideline. He wants those aggressive linebackers, and Jamie Collins, he isn't that type of guy. He's a bigger linebacker that's built to take on offensive linemen at the second level, a little bit more patient, and that's just not how this defense plays anymore. They want faster sideline to sideline guys that can take on those man coverage responsibilities. And even though Derek Barnes wasn't great here, there's certain responsibilities that we just really couldn't put Jamie Collins in, and we saw it on that pass play to the running back where it was just a clear mismatch. You can't get him in man-to-man situations, which kind of left Jamie Collins out as where do we put him on this defense? You put him at outside linebacker, and he couldn't beat the guy to the edge. So he is getting older. He's losing some of that speed, but it's also just was not a fit. Things kind of got awkward when Dan Campbell brought up that he didn't really bring the same level. He maybe didn't play as hard as Alex Anzalone. That was a little bit concerning. And then this week, the Lions had Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin get some snaps. We had Jamie Collins held out of practice. He wasn't going to play this week. They were honest with Jamie Collins. He said he has too much respect for the guy to just keep him on the bench, you know, keep him there and maybe play him a few snaps. Like, I got too much respect for him, but we feel like we have to make this move to go forward. And it ultimately turned out, I think we saw it last week, that this was the right move for the team to go forward. It was better for the team to go this direction. And again, it just kind of seemed like a matter of time. When was it going to happen with Jamie Collins? And it didn't take very long for the Lions to put him on the trade block 2 weeks into the season. And that's one thing that I did like about Dan, is that he didn't just say it. They said after the game that those guys were on their mind, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and he didn't just say it. they took action. They put him on the trade block, and they listened to offers for Jamie Collins. But like I said, they were unable to get any offers for Collins, I'm assuming. What are the salary cap implications? Well, it's kind of tough because everything is kind of approximated at this point. Numbers are kind of just fluctuating, but the Lions clearly had enough money to do this. Like I said, if you go back to the offseason, the Lions did restructure Jamie Collins' deal. They moved his base salary from $8.8 million down to $3.8 million, which saved the Lions at the time $4 million in cap space for this year. They had to save some money for this year because they moved that base salary down and turned it into a bonus. So what the Lions basically did was they took $5 million off his base salary, they turned it into a bonus, and they gave him the $5 million. So Jamie Collins is happy. He's got $5 million. He's smiling. He's going to McDonald's. He's happy. The Lions also saved $4 million. Now, if you're wondering why not 5, it's not because my math is messed up, even though it is a lot of times. It's not because that. The reason it's 5 is because the Lions would spread that portrayed bonus out through the rest of his contract. So they added 3 voidable years at the end, 2023, 2024, 2025, and technically there was $1 million in each of one of those years, plus you added $1 million to next season's contract and this year's contract to spread out the $5 million over those years. Now, when Jamie Collins is not on the team, those voidable years that each hold $1 million, those all go put to that year that he is let go. So it seemed like he was going to be a lock this season because the Lions are going to lose some money from releasing him. It was cheaper to keep him on the roster than release him. However, the Lions will save some money for next year and the years after that. As I stated, it's kind of an approximation at this point on how much the Lions will lose, but approximately, I believe, like $4.3 million the Lions will lose from this. Could be a little bit more, but regardless, they had to have the money to do that. And because the Lions did save some cap heading into this year, they can do things like this. They can take that hit and take it on because they did save some money. They came into the season with some money to move around. Again, it's just unfortunate we weren't able to make a trade because we would have saved more money from this year. Someone else would have took on his contract and we would have got some in return, but obviously that did not happen. However, for next year, we will be saving much more money from Jamie Collins. Approximately about $13 million, I think the Detroit Lions will be adding to next year's cap after this releasing. It was kind of unfortunate you weren't here that long. I think this was a guy that Patricia liked. This was his guy, kind of like the Trey Flowers edition as well. It just fits certain defenses differently. And I'm sure the Patriots are going to be a very likely team to sign him. I wouldn't be shocked if they do sign him. There are teams like Eagles, Pittsburgh Steelers. There's teams coming out. I wish you would have got something in return with all these teams that could be interested. Obviously, when you're talking about maybe not giving the same effort, that is also very concerning. We dove into why the Lions put him on the trade block because you just watched the film. It just didn't work. And the Lions linebackers look much better, even though they were younger this past week. This is the right move for the future for the Lions. And for Dan Campbell, he said he respects him too much to just hold him on the bench. So for both sides, this is probably a good split up, but I wish we could have got something in return. Either way, good luck, Jamie Collins. We'll see where he lands. The 32-year-old linebacker is no longer a Detroit Lion, and that's the quick update that I wanted to throw in here. We all know about the heartbreaking loss the Lions had on Sunday, okay? We all know that it hurt, and we also know that after the game, there was a lot of controversy out there after that 66-yard record-setting field goal that Justin Tucker knocked through, which is just ridiculous. There was some controversy about a missed delay of game, which would have backed up the Ravens 5 more yards, and it was not on the field goal. It was a play before, so to back them up, which would have basically forced them to complete a pass, and if they didn't, they probably would have had to throw a Hail Mary because he barely made that 66. He gave you the crow hop. If that's 71, he's not knocking that through. But anyways, after that game, it's going all over Twitter, and I got to be honest, you know, being there, I didn't even realize that was a thing. I wasn't paying attention to the play clock. You're locked into the field, what's going on, the environment. So I had no idea. I wasn't looking at the play clock. I know some people have said, well, you know, it's different. It's out of sync. I don't know. I don't know what it said in the stadium. But after the game, we heard Dan Campbell and some of the players talk about, well, yeah, we've seen it on Twitter or whatever. Maybe Dan Campbell saw this during the game. You're going to get an apology from the NFL, but it doesn't matter. And look, hey, as Lions fans, we've had a lot of apologies from the NFL. All the players and Dan Campbell saying this, apparently the NFL has not reached out to the Detroit Lions about possibly missing that delay of game. So Dan Campbell says that he is going to reach out to the NFL and ask him about the delay of game call. This was on a radio interview where he said this. When did you start guessing on your bets? I've just been guessing. And who were your picks for week 1? Pats -3 over the Dolphins and Bills over the Steelers -6.5. So I'm sure you're confused what the heck is going on here. Let's go back a little bit to kind of set the stage. Patriots and Dolphins. I kind of like the Patriots logo. I feel like that's underrated. Patriots all the way. Don't be this guy. Download BetQL to make smart bets. BetQL's best bet computer scans 350,000 unique bets per year to give you recommendations on all games, on all major sports. Take the Saints. Michael Thomas, he's going to carry that team. He's going to kill it. Trust me on this one.
Bro, Thomas ain't playing week 1.
Get up-to-date injury and lineup changes. That way things like this don't happen. I just put the money on them because of him. Solely because of him. Allegra, who should I take? Oh, it's Alexa. Alexa is not plugged in. It covers spreads, over-unders, prop player bets, and all the tools that you need to do your own research. Plus, you can see who the pros are backing. Keep up with real-time line movement with your bets. Background knowledge on team summaries, how they've done against the spread. You can look at scenarios, home, away, on grass. Head to try.betql.co/DoseOfDion to get started. Use promo code DOD for 25% off. I felt hopeless. So hopeless. Now download BetQL. Wait. And he's also going to ask about a different call that no one's really talked about, but I saw it today when I watched it back because I didn't know what I was looking for. I had to watch it like 3 times, and I was like, oh, snap, I see what he's saying here, because that was a weird little one that I didn't notice before. But this is what Dan Campbell said. Here's the quote. Probably going to make a call today just to ask about a couple things. It's hard to do that because I don't know what I'm going to get out of it. So you're almost just peeling off that Band-Aid and rehashing the wound. I probably will make a call because there's another call in there that I want to ask about. Campbell said the officials were pumping the play clock for the offense. When Lamar ran out of bounds and they were running out of time, they pumped it for them, and I didn't know why. Just the play clock. I don't know about you guys, but one thing that would always confuse me is when you went out of bounds and the clock would run, or would it run? So I was reading through the rules today to try to figure that out, and I was watching back the end of the Ravens game. I was like, oh, it seems like they did fine there. But I didn't realize Campbell was talking about the play clock, not the game clock. So when you look at the play clock on that 4th and 19 play before they snap it, you will see the play clock get pumped back up to 25 seconds. So after Lamar Jackson goes out of bounds for about 2-3 seconds, then it starts with the 40-second play clock. Well, that thing drifts down to about 14 seconds. All of a sudden, it's pumped back up to 25 seconds. Dan Campbell waits a little bit and decides to call a timeout. Maybe that had something to do with his decision to call a timeout to get guys in the right spot. That's what Dan Campbell apparently wants to ask the NFL about on why they did that. 40-second play clock starts immediately after the play ends, and that's what happened in this game. So the play clock should start like immediately after the play ends, and we saw that earlier in the drive on a first down when the play clock started right after the play ended. Did read that the offense should have about 30 seconds after the ball is placed to get up there, but we can't see where the ball is because of the, camera they give us. They're just showing the fans and everything like that. So we don't know if the ball is placed down or not. The referee can pump to reset the play clock to 25 seconds. But the question is, why did they do that? That's what Dan Campbell wants to know about, because again, yeah, they were in a spot with about 14 seconds where it doesn't even look like they were at a huddle. So if anything, they would have been rushing at that point, but having it pumped anyways, Campbell's like, man, let's just call the timeout. See how that plays out. But I thought this tied in really well to what we talked about yesterday, coming off of a loss like this, because the Lions have had a lot of losses like this in the past. A lot of teams have a lot of tough losses. We have probably way more than others in some crazy ways where it's like, man, we found a way to lose this game. It's another one of those as a Lions fan, which really hurt, man. Oh gosh, it just hurts to go back and think about it. Just watching that replay, it still hurts to watch it back. And that's what the players have said as well. Austin Bryant, it hurt as much just walking back because you had the energy and all life was just sucked out of the stadium after the field goal, right? I mean, it was just so loud in there. I don't know if I've ever heard it that loud in Ford Field, but then it was just gone. And it wasn't even like it was full in there. So it was pumped up. What we talked about yesterday in Last Second Dose is that, okay, how can the Detroit Lions respond to this is going to be the most important thing. We've had a lot of these tough losses, but to me, it's going to show a lot about Dan Campbell and how he can get his players prepared, because if you really want to break through this wall, you have all these tough losses, you have to find a way to respond this week against the Chicago Bears. You're in Chicago. You have a team that has not won a football game yet. You have a team that's trying to figure out their quarterback situation, the importance of next game. And I actually put together this little graphic, and I want to show you the original clip from yesterday. I don't go super deep into it, but it was the idea that I came up with yesterday that I brought up. But I'll show this graphic, and as you will look down it, you can just see the list of crazy, wild finishes that the Lions have had that have not went their way, whether that was because of a flag or a crazy Hail Mary or a long field goal kick, whatever it may have been, but the Lions were in position to win. And this is just really in the last 10 years. But how they responded to that the next week is what really decided where the team went, I think, that season when you just look at the results. How did they bounce back from that tough loss? And there's more than just this list. 4-10, it was at the end of the year. I wouldn't really count it on this list. Pretty much every year you can find a crazy loss like this in Lions history. But what decided the season a lot of times was how did the Lions respond to that tough loss, right? Did they let it get to them? Did they fall apart after that? Or did they find a way to pick themselves up, get out there and win their next game? Because as I will explain in this clip about the show, these next 3 games to me are number one, very winnable, but they're, to me, the most important games of this season. You have 2 divisional opponents. Then you're going to face a team like the Bengals, which is very beatable. Then you have the Rams. Philly is very beatable. Look, these next 3 games to me will decide the season for the Lions. So I'll throw the original clip in here from yesterday. I want to tie this next point with the whole Dan Campbell thing, because here's what I decided on today. Cheating, just 3 games are going to decide the season for the Lions, number one. So I'm looking at this. The Lions have had this. We're the Lions. We've had a lot of these whack losses. The delay of game comes up after the game, and we're like, oh, they'll apologize, but nothing happens of it. You lose on a crazy fluke play. We invent ways to lose. Everybody knows it. But how do you respond to that? Because I'm going through the years of the Lions and look at how they've responded and look at what the year turned into. Look at last year. Swift drops that pass in the end zone, right? Heartbreaker. How do we respond? We get smacked at Green Bay. We do this pretty much every year because every year
for sure.
Some of the years we go 9-7. Atlanta, Golden Tate rule. How the Lions bought back? They go out and they beat Minnesota 3-1. They go 9-7 that season. So I'm figuring out. You find out a lot about your coach in these weeks. We're a young team, so that this stuff happens, but to me, next week's going to tell a lot because you're facing a Chicago team that's a little bit like this. They're coming off a tough loss, so they know they got to win. They're trying to figure out their quarterbacks. You're on the road. The division is where, you make up ground in the division. You have Bears, Vikings, Bengals. You have a lot of opportunities here, and I believe this team. I still have to rock with 9-8 because I predicted it, and I'm not saying that they can't do it. We've seen it. Mark Brunell was part of a 3-6 team that went to the Super Bowl. So my point is that this next week's going to tell a lot about Dan Campbell and where this team, I think, is going, because I think it's very winnable. I think a lot of people think it's very winnable. I think this is going to be a very close spread. And you just look at the history. How do they bounce back after these tough losses is going to tell a lot. So I want to see how this team responds, because I think this is a game you got to win.
Dose, you know what? That was good. You just gave a fire take. I wish we could put like some flames under your screen right now. Like hey, that's real rap right there. Like I wish we could. Can you get like a fire animation real quick?
I should.
That was nice.
I don't want to give myself the heat though. I want to give
you heat. That was heat. I like that. You right. I'm ready to see how they gonna respond. Let's
every
go.
year.
When is the game?
Every year we do this, man. Every year we lose like this.
I'm ready to watch the game.
Minnesota, you got Chicago, Minnesota. Bengals are very beatable.
All 3 games we've competed in. All 3 of them are playoff caliber teams, like championship, NFC championship caliber team. Not like them 3 wild card teams. Them are teams that's supposed to be going to divisional games or championship games.
Yeah, these are legit teams.
So we're banging. We're banging with the big boys. So now this coming week, we're gonna touch on the Thursday. We better beat Chicago. It was actually 99. See, I'm telling you, bruh.
He did.
Even though we lost, though, like I still walk away like, okay, the Lions improved. Nobody likes losing. I'm tired of losing. And I already came into the season feeling like we weren't gonna be that. But watching these past 3 games, I think we're better than what I thought we was gonna be this year, 100%. Even though we ain't won a game, I still think we're better than what I thought we were gonna be this season.
I like that. As tough as it is, even if we would have won this game, the 59 minutes and 45 seconds wouldn't have changed before it. So you still have to try to separate it. Because, the main media narrative would have been, oh, the Lions, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. And it probably should have been that. It was a 99% chance that's what it was going to be. But these still miscommunication errors, the flags, these things would have still been there. So almost in a way, it's not good, but it was an AFC team. And the thing is, these players won't be able to overlook this. Because now your back's against the wall. You got 2 division games to make it up. Can you do that? And you're in that spot right now. You can't overlook anything now because this just happened. Absolutely with Dan Campbell here on reaching out and asking just to get an answer from the NFL and what went on there. As we stated, I think it's very important that the Detroit Lions bounce back from this. That's going to tell a lot about this team because a lot of teams have these tough losses. The Lions have had a lot of these. The way the Lions can break through from this is by responding to it and not sulking or getting stuck on this last loss because it happened. It's done. It's over with. Even if the NFL comes back and said, yeah, we were wrong, you were right, it doesn't change the result or the outcome of that past game. Fans do need to go out there and find a way to respond to this loss. Use this as energy, use this as fuel going into this game at Chicago to get themselves back on track. Because like I said, I do believe these next couple of games are so important, in particular this next one, to see how do the Lions respond from a tough loss like this. Of course, again, shout out to our sponsor of today's video, BetQL. Use promo code DOD for 25% off. Link is in the description. Get some help to beat your sportsbook. Thank you, Prime, for watching, and I'm out.